No one could help the billionaire CEO's disabled daughter, not the world's most celebrated surgeons, not the private rehabilitation specialists, not the luxury medical centers money could buy, not even the engineers who designed the expensive walking brace she had worn for over a decade. But everything changed the moment a widowed single-dad cruise captain quietly knelt beside her, looked at her tired eyes, and asked only 3 simple words. "Does it hurt?" Those 3 words would eventually change thousands of lives, but no one standing inside that small harbor workshop knew it yet. Captain Ethan Walker hated Tuesdays, not because of storms, not because of difficult passengers, but because Tuesdays had already taken too much from him. His wife, gone while giving birth to their son Noah. His younger brother, lost after a devastating accident that left him unable to walk. Before taking his final breath, his brother had grabbed Ethan's hand and whispered, "Help people like me. Don't let them lose hope." That promise never left him. Now. At 38, Captain Ethan spent most of the year commanding one of the world's largest luxury cruise ships. But whenever he returned to shore, he disappeared into a small workshop near the harbor. Very few people knew why. Officially, he repaired marine equipment. Unofficially, he spent every free night studying mobility devices, artificial joints, walking braces. Human biomechanics books covered every shelf. Engineering notes filled dozens of notebooks. He wasn't trying to build a business, he was trying to keep a promise. His 9-year-old son Noah understood better than anyone. One afternoon, Noah ran into the workshop carrying a sketchbook. "Dad!" "I made something." Ethan wiped grease from his hands and smiled. The drawing showed a young girl wearing a strange walking brace. Across the top, Noah had written one sentence. "Help her." Ethan looked at the drawing for several seconds, then quietly hugged his son. 3 days later, a black Rolls-Royce slowly entered the harbor parking area. Its engine had overheated. The GPS had redirected the driver to the nearest mechanical workshop, Captain Ethan's workshop. A woman stepped out first, elegant white business suit. Perfect posture, cold expression. She looked completely out of place beside fishing boats and rusty anchors. "I'm Victoria Sterling, Billionaire CEO. My driver says you can fix the car." She spoke like someone used to giving instructions, not requests. Captain Ethan simply nodded. "I'll have a look." He didn't recognize her. Didn't ask for photographs. Didn't ask for an autograph. To him, she was simply another customer. Several minutes later, another car door quietly opened. A teenage girl slowly guided her wheelchair toward the workshop entrance. She looked no older than 15, long brown hair, soft eyes, a heavy medical brace covered both legs. She stopped near the doorway, watching, waiting. Captain Ethan noticed immediately. Not the wheelchair, not the brace. Her expression. He had seen that same expression years earlier. On his younger brother, pain hidden behind politeness, he slowly walked closer, knelt beside her, studied the expensive brace without touching it, then gently asked, "Does it hurt?" The girl looked directly into his eyes. Nobody had asked her that in years. Doctors always asked about measurements, medical reports, progress charts. Nobody asked about pain. "Every single day," she whispered. Captain Ethan quietly nodded. "I thought so." Victoria frowned. "You can tell that just by looking." Ethan calmly pointed toward one section of the brace. "The hip alignment is wrong. It forces pressure where it shouldn't." Victoria folded her arms. "This brace cost almost $200,000. Ethan smiled politely. "That doesn't mean it's comfortable." For the first time, her daughter smiled. Only a little, but Victoria noticed. Her name was Sophie Sterling. She had lived with her disability since she was 4 years old. 11 years. Countless surgeries, endless therapy, the world's best specialists. Nothing truly changed. Captain Ethan carefully examined the brace for less than 5 minutes, then quietly stood. "I think I can help." Victoria almost laughed. "The world's leading experts couldn't. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to let me try." Sophie answered before her mother could. I trust him. Victoria looked surprised. You've known him for 5 minutes. Sophie gently smiled. He's the first person who asked if I was hurting. Silence filled the workshop. Finally, Victoria nodded once. You have one chance. Captain Ethan smiled. That's all I need. That night, the harbor workshop remained lit until sunrise. Metal parts covered every table. Engineering sketches surrounded Captain Ethan. Noah refused to sleep. Instead, he sat beside his father drawing new brace ideas. You can do it, Dad. Captain Ethan laughed softly. I hope so. No. Noah smiled confidently. I know so. Those simple words gave Ethan exactly what he needed. By sunrise, Prototype 1 was complete, 40% lighter, flexible joints, better balance, completely redesigned support system. The following afternoon, Sophie returned. Her hands trembled while Ethan carefully attached the new brace. Ready? She nodded. 1 step. Smooth. 2nd step. No pain. 3rd step. She stopped. Tears filled her eyes. It doesn't hurt. Noah cheered loudly inside the workshop. Victoria covered her mouth. For the first time in 11 years, her daughter had taken painless steps. But Captain Ethan wasn't celebrating. He noticed something, a tiny imbalance near Sophie's left ankle. Almost invisible. Almost. We're not finished. Victoria looked confused. She just walked. Yes. But she deserves to run. She stared at him. No specialist had ever talked like that. Most celebrated small improvements. Captain Ethan wasn't interested in small improvements. He wanted freedom, even if it meant starting over again. Late that evening, Sophie's phone vibrated, a message from Captain Ethan. I'm not giving up. She smiled through tears. For the first time in years, neither was she. What Captain Ethan didn't know was that someone else had been watching everything. Someone who believed his invention could destroy a billion-dollar medical industry. And within 48 hours, that powerful enemy would try to make sure Captain Ethan never helped another child again. Captain Ethan Walker had no idea that his small harbor workshop had just become the biggest threat to one of the world's largest medical equipment companies. 48 hours later, a black SUV stopped outside his workshop. 2 lawyers stepped out. One handed Ethan a thick envelope. Captain Ethan Walker? Yes. You are hereby ordered to stop modifying patented medical braces immediately. If you continue, our client will seek millions in damages. The men walked away without another word. Noah looked at his father. Dad, did we do something wrong? Captain Ethan knelt beside his son. No, we tried to help someone. And helping people is never wrong. That evening, Victoria arrived unexpectedly. She placed the legal documents on Ethan's workbench. They're trying to scare you. Captain Ethan quietly continued adjusting Sophie's brace. They won't succeed. Victoria looked around the tiny workshop. Old tools, engineering books, coffee cups, handwritten calculations covering every wall. She suddenly realized everything he had built alone, without investors, without recognition, without expecting anything in return. She softly asked, Why are you doing this? Captain Ethan opened his worn leather wallet. Inside, folded carefully for years, was a faded piece of paper. My brother wrote this before he died. Victoria unfolded it carefully. Only 1 sentence. Help people like me. Don't let them lose hope. She looked back at Ethan. For the first time, she understood. This wasn't a business. It was a promise. Prototype 2 was finished 3 days later. This version corrected the pressure points even further. Sophie smiled confidently. I think I'm ready. Captain Ethan nodded. So do I. Everyone watched. Victoria. Noah. Several physical therapists. 1 step, 2, 5, 10. Then suddenly, the ankle joint shifted unexpectedly. Sophie's balance disappeared. She fell hard onto the workshop floor. Victoria screamed. "Sophie!" She immediately grabbed her phone. "I'm calling the police. I'm calling my lawyers." Captain Ethan didn't defend himself. He simply rushed to Sophie. Before Victoria could press the call button, Sophie gently grabbed her mother's wrist. "Mom, please." Victoria froze. Sophie slowly looked toward Captain Ethan. "He never lied to us. He told us he was still trying. He is the only person who actually wants me to walk." Silence filled the workshop. Victoria slowly lowered her phone. Captain Ethan looked down at the damaged brace, then quietly whispered, "I know what's wrong." Everyone looked at him. "It isn't the hip. It never was. It's the ankle." Suddenly, everything made sense. That same night, Captain Ethan received a video call. The woman appearing on the screen immediately recognized him. "Ethan." He froze. "Dr. Amelia Carter?" She smiled sadly. She had been his late wife's older sister. They hadn't spoken in nearly 10 years. "I've been watching everything. Your design is brilliant, but you've been solving the problem from the wrong direction." Captain Ethan listened carefully. The balance correction must begin at the ankle, not the hip. His eyes widened. He immediately understood. The missing piece had finally appeared. Captain Ethan spent every dollar he had saved, new materials, new testing, new engineering, for 7 straight days. He barely slept. Noah stayed beside him every evening, sometimes reading, sometimes drawing, sometimes simply sitting quietly. Whenever Ethan looked exhausted, Noah smiled. "You always tell me. Good captains never abandon their passengers." Captain Ethan smiled back. "And I won't." Prototype 3 was finally ready. This time, independent rehabilitation doctors supervised the testing. Television cameras waited outside. The medical company expected another failure. Instead, they witnessed history. Captain Ethan carefully secured the new brace. Sophie stood, 1 step, 5, 10, 20, no pain, no instability, no fear. Then, she started walking faster. Soon, she was running across the rehabilitation center. Victoria couldn't move. 11 years, thousands of sleepless nights, millions of dollars. Nothing had prepared her for this moment. Her daughter was running. She burst into tears. Not quiet tears. The kind that come after carrying impossible guilt for far too long. She ran toward Captain Ethan and hugged him tightly. Through tears, she whispered, "You changed my daughter's life. You gave her a future." Captain Ethan gently smiled. "No. She found her own future. I only helped her reach it." News spread across the country. Medical experts confirmed Captain Ethan's revolutionary design. The lawsuit against him quietly disappeared. Instead, hospitals began requesting his help. Universities invited him to speak. Engineers asked to study his work. Victoria offered him $10 million. Captain Ethan smiled politely. "I don't want your money. I only want every child who needs this brace to receive it." Victoria nodded. "Then we'll build something together." Months later, they opened the Walk with Hope Foundation. Children from every background arrived. Some walked for the first time. Others simply smiled without pain. Captain Ethan greeted every family personally, not as a celebrity, not as an inventor, but as someone who understood what hope looked like. One sunny afternoon, a young boy wearing an old brace watched Sophie walking through the therapy garden. She noticed him, knelt beside him, and quietly whispered, "Never stop believing." The little boy smiled. Captain Ethan watched from a distance. Noah slipped his small hand into his father's. "Dad, Uncle Ryan would be proud." Captain Ethan looked toward the sky, his eyes filled with tears. "So would your mom." He smiled. For the first time in many years, his promise had finally become a legacy, and it all began with 3 simple words. "Does it hurt?"